Turning around the Zimbabwean economy will require the effort of everyone. Big business, small business. More importantly, to require the involvement of young entrepreneurs, getting the youth into business, getting the youth to create employment. Tonight on Talking Business, my guest is a young man who's trying to do just right that. Thank you for joining us on Talking Business. My name is Supa. My guest tonight is 23-year-old Walter Chimene. He's managing director and founder of a company called Eloquent Solutions. We'll be talking a little more about this company later. But he is the African representative of the Global League of Extraordinary Young Thought Leaders. Now, this is a Richard Branson initiative. Thank you very much for joining us on this program, Walter.
Thank you, Supa.
First of all, before we go into what you actually do for a living, which is Eloquent Solutions, let's talk about this program, this Global League of Extraordinary Young Thought Leaders. What is this all about?
Apparently, the issue is Richard Branson and his fellow entrepreneurs at the global stage decided that they needed to give back to society or give back to the community with similar initiatives like World Economic Forum. So they said to themselves, we need to focus on young people right across Africa and other parts of the world. Young people who are smart, who are brave, and who are eloquent, who have got a passion for an entrepreneurial spirit, leadership development, a commitment to others, and a passion for their continents. The initiative is to focus on thought leaders. These are young people who are inspired, motivated, and can generate ideas which are necessary for economic development and economic growth. The range of which I was chosen of was there was a range of between 20 and 30 years of old young people in Africa, and I was chosen as the representative. What they were looking at is the young person having a background of mentorship, which I have. I went through a mentorship program which was run by the UN. It was called the World Class Performance Mentorship Program. The thrust was to say, how do we harness young people right across the world who are smart, who are brave, who are eloquent, who are multi-talented, so that they can harness all their energies and talents, so that they can become people who can think, formulate, and express themselves like world-class performers. I went through this program for a good decade.
And how were you chosen to be part of that program?
What they used to do is they used to go into primary schools. Then they would give psychometric tests and IQ tests right across the country. And in Zimbabwe, there were 4 of us who were chosen. There were 2 boys and 2 girls. I was one of the guys. And when they came to us, they said, look, you are multi-talented according to our tests. And now what you need to do is to understand to them, they said, you're actually geniuses, which we believe. They said to us that you are multi-talented. You have got a creative, innovative mind which can be triggered towards sport, music, art, fashion, business, and leadership. What becomes important for you is to harness all these talents so that in future you can construct a concept which encompasses all these talents, then become meaningful to your societies. So after this mentorship program, having learned a lot about what has made all the great men and women in history, the thinkers, the philosophers, the leaders, the revolutionaries, the artists, and the entertainers, to get to a stage where you say, after having understood all these elements of genius, how do I harness this myself as a leader to contribute back to society? Having finished this program, is when I came up with my company and my concept of phenomenal speaking. But the Richard Branson guys said, we need to look at these young people who have got a background of mentorship already, so that they can pick up from that wavelength. It's critical for us, as they were saying, that thought leaders are the ones who are going to be driving the global fundamental issues from now into the future. For example, the issue of paradigms. We talk about paradigms and we say we need a paradigm shift in thinking. But our young people need to understand what then is a paradigm? What is a shift? What are we shifting from? From point what to point what? And why are we shifting? This is where thought leadership comes into the picture. So that is the thrust.
Okay, so when you then came back and you set up Eloquent Solutions, what was then the intention of Eloquent Solutions?
Eloquent Solutions is a phenomenal speaking consultancy. And this concept I came up after having finished this program. The concept is different from normal public speaking or motivational speaking. The essence of public speaking is to help an individual so that when he or she speaks, he is understood or heard. The essence or focus of motivational speaking is to say, how do you understand what you're good at or what you're good for? For example, maybe you are good at soccer, but good for playing midfield. Maybe you're good at music, but good for backing vocals. Maybe you're good at leadership, but good for management. Maybe you're good at leadership, but good for entrepreneurship. So now the focus of phenomenal speaking now is to say, how do you put your genius or your best ideas exactly into words? You find a scenario where, for example, let's say in meetings, the person who is chairing the meeting isn't in control, and hence either the agenda isn't addressed to, or a 1 hour meeting becomes a 2 hour meeting because the person chairing is in control. Another good example is a leadership scenario. People are called upon to address their subordinates or their lieutenants in an organization, be it in politics, in business, or in music, or in art. And at times, the leaders fail to express their brilliance so much that the people who are supposed to buy into their ideas fail to buy into the idea. So as a leader, for example, the focus is on how to speak to motivate, to inspire, to persuade, to entertain, and to inform, whether your lieutenants or your other people. Again, it is important, let's say, in interview scenarios, maybe even on television. There are shows like agricultural shows or ZITF. You find at times there are CEOs or big leaders who have made names for themselves outside there in their industry. They come on shows or interviews and they fail to reflect or signify that brilliance they have shown elsewhere on that interview. So much that the person who is seeing that person for the first time will say, are you sure this is the MD for that big corporation? And this becomes critical.
And how does Eloquent Solutions come in that scenario? Then?
In that scenario,
yes.
What is important, especially at leadership level, is to understand your own leadership speaking style. Naturally, are you a person who can speak to motivate, or to inspire, or to persuade, to entertain, or to inform? I'll give you an example. People who are naturally leaders who speak to motivate are the people who can help people move from one point to the next. They will come in, give the reasons why people need to shift, and paint a picture, a beautiful picture of how good it will be when people get to Canaan, quote unquote. Again, when let's say you're speaking to inform, there are scenarios when leaders are given a scenario where they go outside their organizations to gather information, then they come back to give feedback. Either the presentation is boring, is too long, or there's too much jargon. So if you're speaking to inform, for example, you need to know what people know already, number one. Number two, what they need to know. Number three, what they don't need to know for now. This becomes important as a leader on your natural speaking style, because you find yourself in scenarios where you might actually fail to make sense to your lieutenants or your organization, or even your board. Because these ways it is important at leadership level. When someone has been made to understand their natural speaking style, the next step is to understand the 3 levels of fear in speaking: mental fear, emotional fear, and physical fear. Mental fear is going blank during a presentation or mixing up your points. Emotional fear is a scenario where the setup has been changed. Maybe you're going to a meeting where to make a presentation and there's supposed to be 10 people in your audience, then there are 1,000. Or you go there to address students, then His Excellency comes. At times that shift can make people a bit agitated. The last part of fear in public speaking is structured fear or physical fear. This is going on a sweating, a glut you feel in the stomach, or that notion to say, my physical aptitude isn't up to scratch. And the issues are to address, to say, how do you deal with mental fear, emotional fear, and physical fear?
So that is the consultancy that you offer
I offer
to individuals and companies?
Individuals and companies.
Okay, you will tell us a bit more about that when we come back from the break. My guest tonight is Walter Chimene. He's Managing Director of Eloquent Solutions. We will be right back.